I wanted to see if I could make $1,000 in 24 hours, but I had some impossible and crazy things that happened that made it really hard to do. Yeah, crazy. To hit the goal, I would have to average $42 an hour for 24 hours straight. I thought that I started working at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, that I'd be able to avoid problematic passengers like the ones that usually drink. Turns out, I was wrong. This lady was so drunk that the first thing she said to me was, please be ready to pull over at any moment. Foreshadowing, anyone? My initial thought was to cancel because if she managed to throw up in my car, that means I would have to clean it, which I'm perfectly capable of doing. I'd have to wait for it to dry, which would severely hurt my chances of making $1,000 in the 24-hour time span. By the time I had let this woman into my car, I had already been driving over an hour and made $60 so far. And immediately after I had gotten over the fact that this lady might puke all over my car, this guy turns the corner and he gets into my car without a shirt. If you didn't know, drunk people sweat, so it was pretty disgusting. Any sane driver at this point would cancel the ride and kick these guys out of their car. But thankfully, one of the hotel attendants found and returned this guy's shirt. This guy, he's the real hero right now, the MVP of the night. Remember this guy, it's gonna be very important. So I take the ride, but then I noticed that the pickup location is the same as the drop-off location. Thankfully, they were staying at a hotel in a specific part of town, so with just the name of the hotel, I was able to find the address using Google. But that wouldn't even be my only concern, because at some point in the ride, they thought it would be a splendid time to do some hanky-panky in the back seat. Thankfully, she told him to stop, and he listened. Crisis averted. Well, at least temporarily. Fast forward to the last 3 minutes of the ride. 3 minutes from the destination. 3 minutes until I win. It happens. She releases the biscuits. Thankfully, the whole ride, I was preparing for this moment mentally and thinking about what I would do as a response. As you can see, I didn't freak out. I decided to risk it for the regurgitated biscuit because I promised my subscribers that I would show them how to start a $10,000 business once I hit 10,000 subscribers. So far, I have about 1,300 subscribers and I don't have any of that money saved yet. So I feel a little indebted to you guys. So if you want to make this as hard on me as possible by making me go out of my way to deal with riders like this more often, make sure you hit the subscribe button to help us get to 10,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. As soon as I dropped them off at the hotel, I pulled over to assess the damage and I was pretty shocked. For starters, it was on the floor. That's a good thing. 2, splash damage was kept to a minimum. It was contained in a good area. 3, it wasn't a lot of liquid. And 4, remember the moment when the guy lost his shirt and the hotel attendant, the MVP of the night, brought it back? Turns out he didn't put the shirt back on. Instead, she actually used the shirt and got most of her expenditure into the shirt and ended up throwing the shirt out the window. Some of it got on the floor, but despite that, what started out as a really bad situation ended up paying me extremely well. I didn't know it at the time, but in addition to the regular fare of $10.83, I got a $50 bonus for the ride and an $80 cleaning fee for a total of $145.43 for 20 minutes of work. That brings my new total to $260 with 22 hours left to go. What else could possibly go wrong? This could possibly go wrong. At around 4:15 a.m., 5 hours into my $1,000 challenge, I blew my tire. At this point, I made $294.88, which comes out to an average of $60 per hour. Here's what your average person would do at this point. They would either call a tow truck to come and tow their car to a mechanic so that they can get the tire fixed. The average cost of a tow truck would be $90. For replacing one tire, it's usually a good habit to replace 2 tires, but let's just assume we're trying to save as much money as possible right now. So a cheap tire will cost you $50 for a minimum total of $140. That's almost half of the very hard-earned money that I had made so far, and that doesn't even include the money you would miss out while you wait for the car to get fixed. Since this happened at 4 a.m., you would have to wait until the shop opens, and then you'd have to pay extra to get your car towed since it's outside of regular business hours. That would have absolutely deflated me. But I'm not the average person, and I don't want you to be average too. I treat rideshare as a real business. Anything that I can do to safely lower my business expenses, you best believe that I'm gonna do it. That's why I always make sure to have a tire repair kit in my car. The tire repair kit comes with a tool for making the hole in your tire bigger so that you can fit the rubber plug inside of it. the untrained eye, I know this looks like a safety hazard, but the plug will actually outlive my tire. The only thing to be careful of is that you only plug the center of a tire. If you get too close to the wall of the tire, you risk damaging the structural integrity of the tire, which that's not a good thing. Don't do that. I think everyone should have one of these in their car, even if you aren't a professional driver. It will save you a lot of money and a lot of time. And since we know that time is money, it will save you money squared. I have an Amazon link for it below. Make sure you order one. The next time you have a flat tire, you're gonna start thinking about this video and you're gonna wish that you had ordered it if you don't. It took me about 45 minutes to get my tire fixed, and I also took a 15-minute breakfast break. I went to McDonald's. I would end up driving from 5:30 a.m. until 9 a.m. before taking a 6-hour break. It's technically illegal to drive for more than 12 hours when doing rideshare, and so I was forced to take a 6-hour break before we can go back on the road again. Because we wanted to do this in 24 hours, a forced 6-hour break, that means that I could only drive for 18 of those 24 hours. In order to make $1,000 in 18 hours, I would have to average $50 an hour. At this point, we did 10 hours of driving and averaged $42 an hour, bringing our total so far to $420. At the end of the video, we're going to break down the expenses and taxes, so make sure you don't go anywhere because a lot of people always ask me about that. After the 6-hour break and subtracting the hour we spent fixing the tire, we had 7 hours to go. In those 7 hours, we went from $420 to $722 before we ran out of time. So I wasn't able to hit the $1,000 in 24 hours, but all is not lost. I currently have some money that will come my way thanks to you guys. Some of our community members have been inspired by my previous videos and used my referral link to sign up to help me make more money with LYFT. If any of these wonderful people manage to hit the ride goal, my share of the bonus money will go towards funding my next business venture, where I will teach you how to do it too. Usually when I do videos like this, I'm always asked about how much I spend on car maintenance, gases, and taxes. So I'm gonna break down all of that for you right now. I started with a completely full tank of gas and only had to fill up once. At the end of the challenge, I topped off my gas tank to make sure that it was accurately tracking the amount I was spending on gas. The first time I filled my tank, it cost me $3.89 per gallon for a total of $50.71. And then it cost me $17.64 to top off my tank at the end of the night for a total of $68.35. As for the mileage, I used Google Maps to track my mileage, which came in at 510 miles over the course of the 24 hours. Thanks to the government, I'm allowed to claim 58.5 cents in tax deductions per mile driven. If we assume a 25% tax rate before exemptions, I'd have to pay $180 in taxes. Thanks to the mileage deduction, I get to take the 510 miles, multiply that by the 58.5 cents mileage deduction, which gives us $298.35. Let's round those babies up to $300. Since I made $722 before running out of time, I subtract the $300 from mileage deductions from the $722, which leaves me with a taxable income of $422. Assuming a 25% tax rate, I would only have to pay $105 after deductions compared to the original $180 in taxes. Note that this doesn't include other tax write-offs not related to car maintenance. In 2021, after all my expenses were considered, I actually ended up not having to pay any taxes at all. For example, I could subtract part of my phone bill, my car wash payments, the repair kit that we spoke about earlier, air fresheners, car payments, insurance, and anything that isn't directly tied to the wear and tear that happens from driving a car. Since I change my tires and oil at regular intervals, I'm also able to calculate how much it costs for those changes. The car manual for my Volkswagen Jetta suggests I change my oil every 10,000 miles, and it cost me around $80 to do so. For this 24-hour challenge, if we divide the cost of an oil change of $80 by the amount of suggested miles to require an oil change, we get 0.008, which is how much an oil change costs per mile. We can then multiply that 0.008 by 510 miles, which is the amount we drove for the day, giving us a cost of $4.80 towards an oil change. I change my tires every 30,000 miles and it cost me about $250. We can apply the same math that we just used for the oil change to the tires too. $250 divided by 30,000 miles gives us a cost per mile rate of 0.008. We can then multiply that by 510 miles, which gives us $4.25. As you can see, when you break it down into cold, hard numbers, car maintenance isn't as expensive as you think it would be. Usually, the only people who complain about the cost to maintain a car in this business are the ones who aren't running their business like it's a business, and they aren't aware of the actual cost. I even broke this down in another video where I made $3,000 in 1 week. If you haven't checked that one out yet, there it is.
I can't find any devices in your home that can play video. You might want to check the device settings in the Google Home app.